Alright, so I already got an empty shell in here. One of the problems you can have if you're experiencing a problem where the bullet doesn't want to go in, you might be using the wrong kind of bullets. This is actually the wrong bullet for this gun. This is a blank firing only handgun. It's supposed to use a 9mm P.A.K, not a Luger. The casing is actually a little bit too large on the back end. The casing that the blanks use is actually a 9mm that's thinner at the front than at the back, and it's like cone shaped almost. But when I release this, it'll go in, but not all the way, and it'll stick right there, and it'll get stuck. One of the things is if you have extractors on the outside of your handgun, you can just stick your fingernail in them, pull down, and it will actually lift up on the extractors on the end, and unhook it from the rim of the casing. There we go, grab that. It's important because one of the best things that you can do when you get them stuck like that is unhook the extractor, pull the slide back, and then take it apart. Now from here you could just pry it out, but most of these are crazy stuck. I just take out the guide rod and the spring, and then once I've done that, put it back together, because I just want to get rid of that spring pressure. And if you listen, I don't know how well you'll be able to hear this or not. Oh wait, yeah, slide catch is still on. It's hard to do with two hands. There we go. Now it's back on. Now you can take something and smack it, and if this design is the same, like this one has a guide rod right here, you can actually press something into the front of here while your handgun is setting in something, and actually smack right on that, which you cannot normally do if the guide rod isn't, because the guide rod will be poking out a little bit. Right there. But yeah. Now the hard part would be getting to whack this thing out. This thing gets really stuck really bad, so most of the times I don't actually try to whack this thing out because it's so close that it actually wedges in there super tight. So I just get a pair of pliers. Right. Just squeeze the extractor. Come on. You gotta get this just right. It's kind of to do with your fingers, because this guy's under a lot of spring pressure. There we go. Just had to get my hand just right. Get those ready. The cool thing about this design, it has the Makarov takedown design. So as soon as I pull it back, the hammer just shoves it up. It just comes right off. And the way that works is this lever has a skinny side, and then it has this not so skinny side. When it's like this, it holds the guide rod far enough forwards that the slide cannot come back all the way to where it lifts up and out, which is pretty cool. Just get right there. That's the one. Now, because mine doesn't have a primer in it, I can just take these needle nose pliers. But if you were to do this, one second, I gotta take that out first. But if you were going to do this, it would probably be better to like prop this in a vise, or if it's a real gun, just shove a rod down the barrel, like a wooden dowel rod or something. Because you could probably take a rod, grab a hold of the end of the barrel while you're holding the rod, and just smack it down. Or you could just take the barrel out itself and put the barrel into a vise and then start smacking a rod through it, if you have that kind of handgun that can do that. But mine's a fixed barrel design. These things are really closely related to Makarovs, like a lot. I'm going to shove this up in here like that. I'm going to try and get it to twist. Come on. I can't tell if I'm twisting the casing or just scratching it. I think I'm just scratching it. Come on. Yeah, it's gonna be hard to get. Can't tell if I'm getting it to move or not. One thing that I've also heard of people doing is taking screws to where the primer hole is, and just drilling a screw in there that's about the same size, and then just yanking it out. Or like an eye screw, but that would have to be with a barrel that you could pop off. This one you can't pop off, it's fixed to the receiver. It looks like it can, but it's not, it's just a casting mark. But yeah. One thing you gotta be worried about is when you're doing this with these fake shells like this, is that you can also mess up the extractor on your gun if you just try to ram it out with the slide. There we go. Is that turning now? Yeah, it's turning now. It's gonna come out. Come on. There you go. Ooh, a little bit of brass shavings. But she's out. Yay. Yeah, that's probably the last time I'm ever gonna do that. It's a pain in the butt to get out, and it just gets tighter and tighter every time. But another problem you can have is when you shoot a gun, sometimes the projectile, when going into the chamber, there's a little space. This one has a hole right here, but there's actually a line inside the barrel where the bullet and the casing sizes are different, and it'll line up. Sometimes the makers will make the projectile a little bit too big, and it'll scrape off a little bit of the bullet when it goes into this different sized area. And that can cause copper buildup around the front of where the casing is supposed to be, which can prevent the casing from going in all the way because there's a little bit of copper on top of it. Which is something that happens with like surplus bullets sometimes. But yeah. One of the ways to get rid of that is there's actually a really neat video I recently watched where you can actually take a special type of a Brownell metal. They make a special kind of metal that you can melt, and then when it's hardened, it's really hard. But it has a slightly higher melting point than lead. But you can basically just take a plug, stick a plug in the barrel, and it's basically just the water papery stuff in there. Melt the liquid into it, then just take a rod and just ram the piece of metal out. And that's basically all you have to do. Now I would think you could probably take a piece of baling wire or something, stick it in there, and then melt the metal into it, and then just hook onto the baling wire and yank it out. Probably be easier than trying to ram it out all the time, but I don't know. Now, one of the things I heard about is that one of the people that's really bad about making the casings the wrong size is actually Hornady, which is something that I was unexpecting. That's one of those name brands you would think they would be really reliable, but apparently they have problems, especially with their special defense bullets, and you can go on their website and look up, and they actually have I think a place on their website where they actually have the messed up batch numbers of the batches that they actually messed up. Other special defense munitions. That was pretty darn interesting. But yeah, now all I have to do is put it back together. The first thing you gotta do is get that spring to line up just right. Okay. Now, one thing is I can push up on that chamber, so I can actually kind of do this one-handed, but not really. There we go. Come on. Right, you know what? Yeah, one second. Now I gotta flip this back again. Oh, this is gonna be stiff. Or is it just not quite right? Oh no, the side's not right. Wow. That's why. That wasn't let me flip it. Totally thought I got it, apparently not. But yeah, thank you guys for watching. By the way, this little blank firing handgun's really cool. You can squeeze this thing and it has a double action. I don't like letting it fire because it's just like dry firing a real gun. And another thing a lot of people don't realize is that it's actually worse to slam the slides shut while they're empty with these than it is a regular handgun because of the way it's designed. The metals that make up the barrel and the slide are weaker. I don't know if you can see this or not, but there's actually a little bit of discoloration right back in there. Yeah, right there. It's a little bit like a brown discoloration. That's where the copper plating between the aluminum and nickel layer are actually wearing away. And you can see the copper underneath, where it's actually slamming and messing up the metal. That's where the barrel makes contact with the slide when it closes. Because there's actually quite a bit of gap inside here. And that little ring is right around where the casing is supposed to get stuck in, and that's where it contacts the gap. I know I said that twice. Yeah, watch here. And then right there, just repeatedly slamming against that without it catching on the casing is bad for this, but it's also bad for real guns too, as they traditionally have a slide barrel made from a similar grade of metal, so they will deform themselves over time. So it is bad to repeatedly slam a gun shut without having a magazine catch or a loaded magazine to catch or load bullets on. Now you can get dummy bullets if you want to. One problem I did have with this guy though is when I pushed the magazine in, sometimes it wouldn't want to go all the way in and the button wouldn't catch. But yeah, this is a Echo. These are pretty cool guys. This is their P26. It's in the, I think, nickel or stainless finish. I can't remember. I'm pretty sure it's nickel though. But anyway, it's actually like metal. It's been melted down and works together. If you actually look where the rear side is, you can see where's the metal tone difference, where there was actually a tab of metal right there in front of the rear side that I had to file down. And the metal is actually different underneath the plating. Right there between the sights and a little bit forwards. Right there where it's really shiny at. That's where I had to do it. Another thing, this is the pin for the catches. Another thing you can also do is if you can't get to your finger to back here, you can also put a flathead screwdriver in front right there and peel them up. Right, but you don't want to pull up on them too hard. When you take like a really flathead screw and you can just stick it right up underneath there and just lift up. This isn't a flathead screw, so it's kind of too big. But if you look, there's actually a little bit of an angle on the front of the extractor. If you can get that thing to go down there deep enough. Now normally this thing is actually higher up because it's holding onto a casing. It's not holding on to one right now. 1 second. Alright. I'm going to do this slow. I'm not going to slam it shut because I don't want it to get stuck again. There's a pain in the ass. There you go. I don't think it's stuck, is it? It feels stuck, damn it. But yeah. Sometimes when these things get stuck, they might not get stuck all the way. They might get stuck only slightly out. So you might have to do that thing I do with my fingers, but you can also sometimes get these things up underneath here. Actually, these are not flathead screwdrivers, so I'm not doing this very well, but look, I think I caught that one. I caught the far one. There you go. Yeah. Now another thing you can do is you can get a piece of wood, put your frame part where your grip is in a vise. If you don't want to mess up the frame or anything, I suggest you wrap the vise and your pistol in tape. Because that's one of the things you'll do to prevent it from scratching, is you'll get the painter's tape and just wrap it up in there. And you see it there pokes out right here, so you can't really do that much. Well, after you put the bottom half in a vise, you can actually take a piece of wood, set it up against there, and then just smack the wood from the other side, and it'll pop out without messing up the slide. Which I always thought was pretty cool. But yeah. Thank you guys so much for watching. But yeah. But just be careful, because it might be the bullets, but it might also be the gun. You might be loading a wrong caliber into a gun that wasn't designed for that caliber, like I am right now. This thing's designed for the different 9mm right here. Designed for 9mm P.A.K. There's also a 9mm Kurtz, which is for one of the original PPKs. Originally had Kurtz, not 9mm Luger, which is actually a slightly shorter 9mm than the normal 9mm. I believe it's actually shorter than the Makarov by a little bit. But yeah, another thing, the Makarov 9mm, if it says Makarov 9mm on it, it might mean that it uses the Makarov 9mm, which is actually a slightly shorter, not as short as the Kurtz, but it is shorter than the regular 9mm. So it will not properly chamber if that is the case. But yeah, thank you guys so much for watching. One thing I thought was really neat is there's actually a, on the Makarovs, the original ones had a pin right above the firing pin that would show you where it would actually have a pin that would touch the rim of the barrel. So that way at the same time it fired. What the? Oh yeah, it's stuck open. That's why it triggers not doing anything. But at the same time that it fired, it would hit the firing pin, which you could also see if it was all the way forwards now, because the pin would be poking out the back of it. There was actually a special notch cut into the hammer, so that way it wouldn't hit the secondary firing pin and everything, but it would still look pretty cool. But yeah. Well, thank you guys for watching. I'm gonna fix this now off camera, but yeah, thank you guys so much. I hope this helped you guys out. But yeah. Bye guys.